Okay, recording.
Okay. Today is, hi everyone. Today is April 9th, 2014. I'm Roxanne Grinage. I'm the Legal Administrative Assistant, Case Study Marketing Referral, Careers and Project Manager, owner of Higher Lyrics Administrative Services, who has demonstrated now since 2010, starting in 2009, an administrative solutions tool which measures and identifies individual, not systemic, not governmental, individual capacities and responsibilities for perjury, legal malpractice, official corruption, fraud, and civil rights violations, and who exactly is responsible for the personal injuries, theft, unlawful imprisonment, and wrongful death because of it. We have moved into an age, a renaissance, if you will, a renaissance of enlightenment, of networking. A lot of it has to do with the internet technologies giving us the ability to find each other. However, as you all know, it is sort of like the wild, wild west. The law is only as good as it is enforceable, and people have been scrambling, maybe since 2000, when Higher Lyrics was formed in 2000, launched, because of it was probably happening before then, but I was recognizing the piracy, the internet technology enabled piracy, if you remember Napster, and the stolen music, and copyright infringement and rights to ownership. So Higher Lyrics was originally started to protect rights of ownership for lyricists. A lot of hip hop lyricists that were being ripped off, and eventually, because it's internet technologies which makes the community global, we were able to demonstrate protection of rights of ownership and production of masters globally. And we have case studies in Bulgaria, Australia, and of course here in the United States, in every genre, pretty much every genre. Um, Bluegrass, country, hip hop, freestyle battling, and so on. Well, anyway, I want to get to this. First, let me say today's my birthday, April 9th, and I had planned to be on my way to Washington, D.C. to be one of two keynote speakers along with Charles R. Stecker, um, for the U.S. Congressional Education Panel, in the Capitol building, where my topic of discussion was going to present this practice model, if you will, to innovate U.S. economy, education, judicial accountability, prison, and public integrity forum by having an all states chapters, all neighbors welcome virtual brick and mortar community meeting places, quote, where we would network bipartisan solutions to save the soul of our nation. Well, the event was canceled last night. Now, I just want to say this about all passionate leaders that are qualified. As you know, we're stepping forward. Authentic leaders are stepping forward. Let's just come out and say it. Let's come out and say what is really going on. It's demonic. It's satanic. It's the most lower powered attack on humanity. Child slaughter, systematic, court ordered child abuse, uh, passive aggressive child abuse, people looking the other way when children are abused and hurt and injured and wrongfully killed and tortured and starved and chained down. These are evil things. This is an evil enemy. You have to understand the nature of what you're facing. All right? There are no rules. It's demonic. It's like a rabid dog. All right? If you have made a decision, like I have made the decision, to engage, don't run, don't hide, don't lay down. Let it run up on something that doesn't move. Let it run up on community. If it runs up on community, it's going to bounce off and it's going to have some wounds of its own to lick. All right? So if you understand the demonic nature of child slaughter, then you better believe that the leaders, the authentic leaders, the ones with the experience, bred in their own child abuse stories, what we've overcome, and then how we've taken, and instead of dying and laying down and giving up, we chose to help others, and we chose to get the credentials necessary to help others. Then you better believe that that authentic leader is going to be attacked. is going to be attacked. That's why we can't judge each other. These attacks happen in our personal life by those we give access to us. They are very clandestine. They are insidious. We are as sick as our secrets. They're just they're just riddled with shame and guilt, and they're designed to isolate. The enemy wants to get the enemy of self-hate and destruction of children, which is how we perpetuate our human species. So the destruction of humanity as a species here on this planet is very shame-ridden, and we tend to blame ourselves. And the same people that are gifted enough to be survivors and fighters and warriors and generous with us and being selfless to help others are the same people that suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, that suffer one hit after the next, after the next, after the next, fighting an enemy, and while they're fighting the constituency that they're trying to help and trying to explain themselves over and over again. So I just wanted how important it is that we start to set up all neighbors welcome community meeting places, virtual presentation, and brick and mortar storefronts and offices where people can walk in and get a full holistic assessment of not just their claims, but their career attributes, their career challenges, and galvanize their voter clout. So that in that district or that jurisdiction, we can actually bring out unethical judiciary, especially impeach them, and we can put in those candidates that at least recognize that official corruption, fraud, and civil rights violations do exist, by recognizing that we are a tragically far too large federal crime victim voter constituency whose voter clout, once organized, can sway elections. Able to get people advocates into the courtroom by getting your criminal justice certifications. That's an area of expertise. We all can't be all things to all people. The administrator should be sitting up there, the front desk legal secretary, like me, should be sitting up there doing claims intake. There should be an educator that does that makes the referrals for vocational training and further education and so on. And when we find that a child was ended up court-ordered abused or fell through the cracks of legal malpractice in the state court, it may not have been RICO indictable actions. It might have been incompetence, and training was needed in that area of CPS or that area of DHS social worker. So let me just go over this with you really quickly. All right, so this is what I would have presented at the Capitol tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. But there is interest in this. Many candidates have contacted me. One is a candidate for Secretary of State in Missouri, and we're going to work together to make sure that all states remain autonomous while we pool our resources together. Whatever the resources come from, the Department of Justice gives grant funding to people who are already, businesses who are already helping people, crime victims, fill out their forms. There are civil rights complaint forms, there are immigration complaint forms, Social Security disability forms, and so on. So if you're already doing this, why shouldn't we get grant funding to not only pay our salary so that we're not struggling with basic needs, but we also come together, all states chapters, and decide whose community has a community needs driven. That means communicated by the mass of community, not a clique, not a bunch of public servants, right? And there's going to be rules for who can be on the board of directors and who can't be. You can't be on the board of directors of the all states chapters if you have taken an oath, a sworn oath, to any corporate entity like the Bar Association. If you've sworn loyalty to a corporate entity like the Bar Association, you certainly can't be loyal to community needs driven goals. So when we get on the phone and have our board of directors meetings and our teleconferences and our video conferences, laypersons are preferred. However, it's just like any other group. We reserve the right to hire any professionals that meet our needs at the time, like the Free Group, who did the Lewis Free Report, intelligence officers, investigators, law firms. We reserve the right to hire them. if we have to, but you can't be on the board of directors of an all states chapters community virtual brick and mortar community meeting places where we network bipartisan solutions to save the soul of our nation. We don't care what your party affiliation is politically, because federal crime victim voters, we don't vote party, we vote right. Okay, so we will cross party lines, and we are just like we're getting networked as victims. We are transitioning, stroking the wound of being a victim. Oh, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, to I have clout, I have say with my community. And guess what? Oh my goodness. The internet technology just made my community global, and because we're talking about U.S. laws, policies, and procedures, hey, now it's national. All right? So my community is answerable to me, and I'm answerable to developing my community. So none of us should forsake the others. Once we recognize each other as an authentic community leader, we never forsake each other. We don't have to necessarily take up each other's banners. We don't have to necessarily make excuses for each other. We don't have to understand what's going on with each other. But we better recognize that God, Creator, whatever you choose to believe in, if you believe there's a lower power doing this, then there's a higher power too. He sent many people here who are uniquely qualified through their adversity, through their life experience, to save lives. And upon each of us, thousands and thousands of lives count. So we have to come to the assistance and aid of an authentic leader when they allow us to. So let's just read this real fast. At the top, the objective: innovate U.S. economy, education, judicial accountability, prison, and public integrity reform. How? Within all states chapters, all neighbors welcome virtual brick and mortar community meeting places. Network bipartisan solutions, save the soul of our nation. How are we going to do it? Higher Lyrics practice model won an award for being a standard access practice model. Standard access to what? The standard legal assistant, marketing, careers, project manager services. Okay? So let's make these standard access, regardless of who you know or what you have, to holistic claims intake assessment, judicial legal malpractice, perjury, official corruption, fraud, civil rights causes of action identified. Did anybody see the movie Noah? Said when they come, they will be desperate and there will be many. So people are presenting complaints. They're presenting, oh my God, this happened to me. My children were taken. I was wrongfully arrested. I was double billed child support, oppressive child support, fraud. Oh, it's a terrible. So they're coming reporting a crime. They don't think to tell you what their attributes are. Everything in their background with a holistic career assessment that would be revealed is if they were spared, if they were saved through responsible pro se document production that would get something into the federal court, a complaint or a motion for emergency restraining order against legally malpracticing state court and DHS agency, CPS agency employees, would get the attention of globally practicing class action law firms who say, oh my goodness, this is not the 12th, this is not the 15th, this is the 23rd in this jurisdiction. We could take this on. We don't have to charge individual retainers. It's not civil rights, it's personal injury with RICO Act proximate cause of action. So that handles that. But don't let the claimant go, because the claimant is a holistic human being. It's a spherical, we are spherical presentation of all of our experiences, choices up to that moment. And many of us have transitioned and reinvented ourselves from young adults being on welfare to work programs, managing, stretching macaroni and cheese to feed the kids, the 4 kids, while we went to school for our menial benefits, to educate ourselves. So we're resourceful. All right? Find out everything that person is able to do, what their attributes are. Then find out what they need advanced to them to unlock their contribution back to the community to make this world a better place. Do they need a vocational training? Do they need an accounting course? They need a salaried employment job with a 401k plan and an employer. So find out what they need to have competitive professional presentation. All right? They may be disabled at home, but there are some things that physically disabled at home, but they have transitional skills that can be used. They can dispatch. They can make many of these referrals. This can go as far as helping people in court, advocacy in court, helping people with careers, saving the animals, animal refuge. People don't have to give up their animals because they can't afford to feed them or take care of them on farms. And we don't have to hear horror stories about horses starving to death anymore. We don't have to hear horror stories about children starving to death and being chained up anymore. When the community makes community responsible to community. Our public servants are just that, servants. All right, but so far we've been acting like we've lost what Senator Nancy Schaefer said in 1984 when these huge endowments came down, these incentives from the federal government to place children, to transport children. A person would have to be a saint, she put it, not to commit some type of fraud crime, slander crime, or report somebody a child abuse registry fraud, or rule them out as a placement, because that meant the social worker got money in their pocket, and once the child began crying too much or being separation trauma injured, they would make them a special needs child by giving them Ritalin or medications clearly marked not to be given to anybody, psychotropic drugs, not to be given to anybody under 21 years old. And then they tell the parent, you're not handling this well at all, so you take these psychotropic antidepressants. And before anybody knows it, we can't be initiated in reforming public integrity, judicial accountability, education. No amount of education, no matter how progressive the platform is that a candidate runs on, can benefit a child who's injured and disabled by kindergarten. You know, and we have mayors like Mayor Michael Nutter, who blames the children for public mob assaults and breaking curfew and everything. He says it begins in the home. Senator Anthony Williams says it begins in the home. Guess what? These children aren't in their home. They were taken out of their homes. They were billed for. They were transported for money. All right? Here. Okay. All right. Bipartisan collaboration. Organized voter clout. Federal crime victim voters cross party lines. Vote in ethical candidates, vote out incompetent officials and public servants, career challenges and attributes assessed, unlimited national education and jobs creation. All states, chapters, department, justice grant, and private donations funded all states, chapters, virtual brick and mortar community meeting places. You can see this practice model as my cover on Facebook, and it'll be up at higherlyrics.org. You can contact me at www.higherlyrics.org. Our retainer contracts are there. Our flat fee retainer contract agreement is there. When you send me that, I send you all the forms necessary for you to give me the information. I get on the phone with you right away. I pull that information out of you. www.higherlyrics.org. You must send that retainer fee in no more than 5 days. By fax or email or postal mail, no more than 5 days after making a payment, a partial payment on the flat fee agreement that we have agreed to. All right, and my phone number is 267-444-0594, Roxanne Grinage at gmail.com. Please use the secure pay now buttons under the retainer, flat fee retainer contract at higherlyrics.org. If you cannot use those for any reason, they accept major credit and debit cards. You do not need a PayPal account, but if for some reason you can't use those, there are only 3 forms of acceptable payment. You have to mail one of 3 types of money orders: a money order purchased at the U.S. Post Office, a Western Union money order, or a MoneyGram money order to my P.O. Box, which is published all over the place. My Facebook page, everything I post has my P.O. Box 22225, Philadelphia, PA 19136, made payable to Roxanne Grinage. And you can send to, but you can wire by Western Union for pickup by Roxanne Grinage with ID in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or MoneyGram to Roxanne Grinage with ID. And you have to send me the MTCN number and the reference number. Okay? Before I go running around trying to see what's there. There's 58 candles on there because it's damn 57. I got one for good measure. So I got to lock in that extra year. That's insurance. Thank you. I wasn't going to light them and blow it out in front of you because I don't want you to see my freaking huffing and a puffing and a OPCDC, OPD. Okay, bless you all. It's Roxanne Grinage. I am Ezekiel Zakel Brown, Ariel Roxanne Brown, and Grayson Shamuel Grinage's grandmother. God bless.